Tonight we are on top of the world. Well, as far up as it gets around this area anyway. But what we're here tonight to photograph is skies, pretty much. And it might look a little bit flat right now, but I think tonight will be one of them nights where it seems good. Oh God, so much dust. It'll be one of them nights where it seems rubbish, and then there'll be like 5 minutes of just absolute bliss, and then it'll go rubbish again, and then there'll be 5 minutes of just the most amazing light ever. And hopefully we're going to capture that light. Fingers crossed. I've got two ideas, I've got one idea for one composition, and then an interesting way of getting a foreground for my second composition. But we're going to start with the first composition because that fits where the sun is better right now, because the sun is somewhere in this direction, and my first composition is going to work better for that. And the reason why I know that is because I've came here, and I've came here a couple of times, and not trying to film, just to sort of get an idea for the area. And if you don't do that, it's a good tip. It's a good tip. Get to know your location before you go and shoot it. Fingers crossed that works out though. We'll find out. So I'm just getting my camera set up, and what I decided to do is to go into full frame because I wanted that width. The last time I was out shooting, I was shooting in a 5.4 crop. This time I wanted that wider, that much more. So I've got that much more now, and it looks pretty good. Then what I'm going to do, I'm going to focus on the wall, the furthest wall that really is important. So it's nice and sharp towards me, and to that point it's going to be nice and sharp too, because I'm shooting on f11, so that's going to work out really nice. The sky itself doesn't need to be that sharp, it can be a little bit soft. End of the day, it's clouds. So now it's just going to be a case of waiting until them clouds, hopefully some light comes through, or get a nice little gap, a shaft of light, a beam of light, something to draw your eye in. I've got the side, and what I really like about that side is the way I've got green down the side of the wall with the bracken. Now if the bracken was, sorry, not the bracken, the heather, if the heather was in bloom as well, this shot would go from a, yeah, okay, nice, into, wow, that's incredible. So me knowing that, I've already put this in my calendar, I've put this in my mental calendar to come back at a later date to capture this again when it's in bloom, because it'll make it go from like here, like, oh yeah, it's a nice image, to wow, that image. That's some nice photography. Okay, so I'm not convinced that the sky's going to light up anymore. It's starting to get too late now, and the sun's starting to get too far over that way. But beautiful. So I might still be able to work some sort of magic with that sky, doing a bit of dodging and burning, dark and brightening, you know, that kind of stuff. And I think there might still be something there. But what I might do is I might head around the other side and show you my other idea with the idea, so many ideas, with the idea that I can come back round this side and capture it if it does all kick off and get good. But my other idea, I'm quite a fan of. I quite like it. And it's again, something that I don't often see, which is always nice, photographing something you don't always see. So I'm going to grab my camera gear and then head round the other side, and I'll see you around there. I will, Paul. I'll see you in there. Right. So for the observant few that are out there, what I've got here is I've got loads of the burnt bracken. Now I don't agree with burning bracken, for one. Don't like it. I'd prefer if this was all trees and forests. My opinion, for those that do love the moors, I prefer woods. But anyway, all of this burnt bracken, sticks coming around in waves and sweeping around like explosions coming out. I think that's quite interesting. Now if I manage to get the right sky to go against this silvery bark, this silvery stick, no bark left on there, I think I've got something good. And what I'm going to do first of all is I'm going to have a little wander around with my camera, no more than 24 to 70, probably on 24mm. I don't think I need to go any wider than that, but I'm going to try and incorporate some sort of shape made out of this stuff to go with some sky, photographing skies. But yeah, I think this is going to be good. It's one I was excited about. So I've been dancing around for a while now trying to stay warm. It is not warm like the other night, I tell you. That wind is cutting through me like nothing else. But what I've got up here is what the sky is doing, and how it will relate to my shot. So I've got them beautiful bit of, you know, burnt cool stuff going around this way, but the sky is just it's all right, like it's all right. But if I had like a big god ray that just came through and lit up a piece of land down there, it could really make this image. And the thing that's so irritating about this is that that could feasibly happen any second. And it could have feasibly happened for the last half an hour. But for some reason, it's just not happening. Just not happening. So I've got the makings of two images now, and all it's missing is that light. But it could happen. It could happen any minute, which is the most frustrating part. But I will get back in touch as soon as it does happen, or doesn't happen. Either way. But you'll see soon enough. So I'm back, and there's one big reason why. I said during the vlog that I am going to do a video on the importance of light. And I was thinking to myself, how do I get that across, the importance of light, if none of the images has any light? So I have waited for an evening where there is light, and tonight, you will see by these little videos here, there is no shortage of light. In fact, there's almost too much light, and I am here way too early. So what I'm going to do for this vlog, for the end of this vlog, is I'm not going to talk about composition or anything like that, anything in detail. I'm sort of more just going to capture the images that I tried to capture last time, maybe a couple of extras depending on how it goes, but just to demonstrate the difference between that dark and that bleak and then blue skies like these images, and when it's got some colour. And obviously I've not captured the colour yet, but at some point you'll see the colour. You will. So stay with me, and hopefully this will make a lot of sense for why I've done this. I think it makes sense in my head, but yeah. So the same images as before, but this time with light. Yeah. Before I actually start, I'm going to say this might be the wrong time to photograph this. When I originally came to this scene, I imagined the sky being here with God rays coming underneath. That's why I came up so early last time. But obviously this time there's barely a cloud in the sky. Lots of big clouds that way, but nothing in the direction that I needed them to be. So this shot might get captured again a bit later on once the sky started to turn colour. Because I think the wall, the heather and a coloured sky will look good with the sun above the wall. It leaves a big blank bit of sky over here which isn't very well balanced. So I may readjust this and I may take another shot later. But for now, I'm going to underexpose for the sky. So that's on 1/60th of a second, f11, ISO 100. I've got that shot. Then I'm going to raise that exposure. I'm going to start to get that wall. So it's going to be a 3-shot exposure. And then I'm going to raise that exposure again to get that bracken. And that's it, simply. But you've got to imagine that this shot originally, the sun was meant to be over in this direction with some God rays. So the wall was leading down into them God rays, creating that circle, that focal circle. What I'm going to do now though is I'm going to move around to the other side and I'm going to check out them root shots because they should be looking pretty spectacular right now. So I will see you on the other side. So I've got the camera all set up and I've got my composition the same as I had last time. I'm going to do a very similar thing to what I did last time. So I'm going to focus stack through the scene, and as I focus stack I'll change my exposure according to what I want that layer. So I've not overexposed this immediate foreground because it's got a really nice light on there at the second. And I'm shooting f11, 100 ISO and 13th of a second. And that's given me a nice, bright, contrasty foreground. So there's the shot here. And you can see that sky is completely blown out. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to focus further into that scene. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to drop that exposure a little bit. So now I've gone to 15th of a second. I'm going to fire that off. Now what I want to do is, because I've got a little bit of lens flare, you'll see just here, I've got a little bit of lens flare and I'm going to get rid of that. And the way I'm going to get rid of that is I'm going to cover up the sun from my lens. So I can still get that same section of foreground, but now it doesn't have that lens flare. I'm just going to double check. Yep, lens flare free. That is much better. Now I'm just going to get the sky. So for this, I'm not going to lower my exposure to start off with. I'm going to close my aperture. Because what I want to start to get is I want a sun star. I really want some interest in that sky. So I've gone up to f22. And then I'm going to close my aperture accordingly. I'm going to fire that off. So that's on 1/30th of a second. And I'm starting to get that sun star. And I'm going to drop that exposure again. I'm going to go to 1/60th of a second, fire that off. And now I should have a beautiful sun star. The reason why I've dropped my exposure again for the sun is so when I lower my highlights, I've got 2 shots that one of them might be too low and the other one is basically giving myself breathing space. It's giving myself room for error, room for messing up. And that is my second shot. And I think it went pretty well. So I've captured some light on that side, I've captured some light on this side, and they are going to mirror the ones that I've captured already from my earlier vlog when I had no light. And you should see the difference between the images, how they are brought to life due to that extra little bit of sun. And I think I'm probably going to finish the vlog here, just because I'm going to carry on shooting and playing around in this area. And if you are interested in checking out what some of these images may look like, check out my my Facebook page, Kieran Husbands Photography. That's where I upload most of my images. It's not really Instagram and it's not really my website. My website's down at the moment. But yeah, most of my images get uploaded to Facebook. So feel free to check that out. I imagine if the rest of the experiment from here works out well, that's where it'll end up. I'm going to carry on shooting, like I said, and I am going to capture the other side again later, which you'll see at the end of this, just to sort of show you with that colour in the sky, and I think it will create a lot more balance in that image. So I hope you've enjoyed this and you can see the importance of light in your photography. And if I can suggest one thing as a photographer, study light, learn light, look at conditions, look at altitudes of clouds, work out what's likely to be there because of certain situations, that you can sort of predict what's going to happen in the future, whether it's worth taking that hike up that mountain or whether it's just worth sitting back, putting your feet up and doing a little bit of editing. But yeah, that's all from me this week, and yeah, I will see you next week, and I hope you're all safe, doing well and loving life as best as possible. Anyway, I will catch you next time. Peace out.
If you talk all the time, you'll never hear what anybody else has to say. And therefore all you'll have to talk about is your own conversation. The same is true for people who think all the time. That means, when I use the word think, talking to yourself, subvocal conversation, the constant chit-chat of symbols and images and talk and words inside your skull. Now, if you do that all the time, you'll find